Good morning! The main push for a carbon tax in Vermont over the past 2 years has come in the form of the Essex Plan. The Essex Plan aims to reduce Vermont's carbon dioxide emissions by phasing in a large tax on gasoline and heating fuels. The concept behind the proposal, so its authors claim, is that an increase in prices will decrease consumption and reduce carbon pollution by 15 to 25% by 2025 and 30 to 50% by 2050. In a previous video, I described research that used the effects of European carbon taxes to refute claims that they tend to cause emissions decreases, link in the description. But we don't really need to look as far away as Europe for evidence about whether the Essex Plan would reduce emissions in Vermont. This chart is a partial history of Vermont's average price for 1 gallon of gasoline. This black line is the average price of gasoline right now in mid-January 2019. And this black line is what the price would be under the full implementation of the Essex Plan. As you can see, Vermont has, in effect, had the Essex Plan for 4 years. We can look at these 4 years as real-world evidence of how much the Essex Plan might be expected to decrease Vermont's CO2 emissions, even though the actual price jump is somewhat greater and occurred much faster than would be the case under the Essex Plan. This red line is the emissions produced by transportation in Vermont up to 2011. This purple line is the emissions produced by heating fuels up to 2011. Here are the projected ranges of future emissions in those sectors based off of the claims of the Essex Plan. Though, if the proponents of the plan were correct, the larger and more rapid price increases from September 2010 through May 2011 should cause emissions to be lower than those the Essex Plan projects. So let's see what happened. In 2012, the emissions in transportation increased, but this was offset by a large decrease in the heating sector. In 2013, the transportation sector extended its increase, and the heating sector's emissions rebounded, completely wiping away the previous year's decrease. Both sectors' emissions increased in 2014 and in 2015. And after 4 continuous years of prices higher than would be the case under the Essex Plan, the emissions in both of the targeted sectors had increased substantially and were much higher than the top of the range the Essex Plan forecast. This is substantial, real-world evidence that the Essex Plan will not cause a decrease in Vermont's carbon emissions. In every year that prices were higher than would be the case under the Essex Plan, both of the targeted sectors had increasing emissions, except for the heating sector during 2012. And why was that? By heating degree days, 2012 was the mildest recorded winter in Vermont history. There is no evidence that carbon taxes cause decreases in carbon emissions, and there is evidence that the Essex Plan would not result in decreased emissions. Carbon taxes are the most expensive and least effective method of reducing carbon emissions. Please write to your legislator and tell them to oppose carbon taxes in Vermont. And as always, it's morning in Vermont. Thank you and have a great day.